Alrighty. All right, you ready to roll?
Yep.
Here we go. 3, 2. Hello, D-Gens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes. I, of course, am the Brofect one, AJ. Joining me, as always, man with the numbers, sportsbook whisperer, college basketball guru, daddy of the diamond, all hail the king of the links, the money train. Noah, how you doing today, bub?
Dude, I'm great. It's not an equinox because we don't have baseball, but guess what? College basketball is back. College basketball is back, and it's back in a huge way. I felt so good this morning coming off that huge Cats win
Yes, sir.
to
Bear
kick
down.
off the season. Got a real tough non-conference schedule, but you know what? It feels like all of them are winnable. So
Ooh.
if not us being favored in most of those, so yeah, I love it, man. I'm fucking tuning in. I was watching. Who was I watching yesterday at work in the background? I was watching Drake and I don't even remember who they played. Anyway, Drake and NAU, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
That was a solid
I'm
game.
like, you know how much I love my mid-major basketball, and sometimes it's just going on in the middle of the day. If I got a little bit of time in between things at work, great to just toss a little game on in the background. But yeah, man, I love it. College basketball's back.
All the way back. And speaking of mid-major basketball, Noah, my parlay for today was East Carolina -5.5, Wichita State -7.5, Nevada -9, and of course, I had to for my first college basketball parlay of the season, Valparaiso -6 against Eastern Illinois.
All right, yeah, I'm
We
on
are
Wichita
not
State.
cooked yet.
I'm on Wichita and Valpo today. My plays today were pretty much it was Wichita State, Valpo. I did loop into a parlay, just Duke on the money line. The 9.5 felt a little trappy
Yeah,
to me against
felt big.
Texas on a neutral court. I was like, I don't know. I'm going to wait. Duke should beat Texas by 10 or more, but I just don't know if they will. So I just took a money line at like -475. Wasn't super attractive. I did, however, take Oregon to blow out Hawaii at home.
I like that.
It was a weird one, right? So the Duke line, 9.5, money line, 475. The Oregon Hawaii line, 12.5, so only 3 points more. Yet Oregon was -1,000.
I get it, dude. And I mean, that's a lot of weird.
That told me everything I needed. That told me everything I needed. I'm like, that 3 points is not worth that big of a swing in a money line bet.
No.
So I'm like, Oregon should cover that.
And the last note on that, after what was it, Hawaii Pacific or Pacific Hawaii or whoever it was last night, went ahead and got that dub. A lot of bets on the plus the points today. A lot of people taking the points with teams. So not shocked with that after that, but it's going to be a fun college basketball season, Noah. But as we are just getting started with college basketball, Noah, that means it is time for one of the it starts to get it real. You know what I mean? It starts to get real. We start off the football season all full of joy and excitement for what is to be. And now sitting here with the first college football playoff rankings, Noah, I mean, absolutely wild that we are already at this point. And you know, let's just put it this way, Noah. In my opinion, the college football playoff committee went ahead and said, "You guys thought the AP was bad. Let us go ahead and start putting some lists together, and we'll see how this thing rolls out there, Noah." And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think some of the ones are obvious, and I'm fine with them. But like, I wish I was in those meetings. I wish I was in those meetings so we could see what they actually have to say. You ready to get into this?
Yeah, and of note, the playoff committee, a little bit different than the AP. It's not everybody casting an individual ballot and then a point system. This is a room where these guys deliberate and then come up with a list based on those deliberations. So
that they do, Noah. They do come up with a list.
Maybe. I don't know.
And I do think, again, it's worth pointing out that even though this is where the CFP committee has them ranked, this is not how the top 12 would flush out essentially for the playoff. For the college football playoff. Unless I'm reading this wrong, Noah.
No. And we can go over that because obviously you got the two spots, or could be one, could be multiple spots going to the top 5 conference winners. does mean in this first iteration of the rankings that the teams that are ranked 11 and 12 would be on the outside.
Yes. Worth noting that. Let's go ahead and jump into this, Noah. Nothing too shocking, I think, with the top three: Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, sitting there at 3, Alabama at 4, Georgia sitting in there at 5. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Noah, those are two of the better SEC schools going into this, and the SEC, I will say, not as heavily featured as I maybe thought they were. I don't know why I thought we were seeing more SEC. And I know there's a lot of SEC on there, but I thought there would be more. But Noah, what's your thoughts on the top 5?
I think the top 4 is pretty cut and dry. I'll say that. Now, I have for the last 2 or 3 weeks had my top 5 looking exactly like that. I did shake it up a little bit this week. Georgia didn't look as commanding as I would have liked them to. I did bump them down to 7 on my list, so nothing like drastic by any means. But, for about 3 weeks straight, this is pretty much the top 5 that I've had.
Oh.
That most people have had.
All right, no, hold on for a moment because you are coming in very choppy. Let's let the audio and video
maybe
catch
switch
up
Indiana, Ohio State, depending on where you're looking at
he's
that.
Back.
But
there he is. Oh, we lost him again, I think. Well, while we wait for Noah to get back, I mean, yeah,
okay.
Yeah, just hold on for a second, bud. But yeah, Ohio State, clear cut number 1.
I was like, did I lose you?
No, your Wi-Fi is cutting in and out, and we cannot understand a single thing you're saying. Now you're frozen again. Well, while we wait for Noah, Ohio State clear cut number 1. I mean, they look good, they look confident, and they look like they're ready to try to run this one back. Indiana number 2, Kurt Cignetti absolutely turning those boys around and putting them into this position, and I think a position that they're going to be in going into the playoffs and going further outside of maybe a crazy loss. Noah, welcome back. You can go ahead and pick up on the top 5.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think pretty cut and dry for the most part with the top 5. I could sub Georgia out with a couple other teams, but you talk about specifically the top 4 with the playoffs, getting that first round bye. I think you got 4 teams, and I think they got that part right for sure.
All right, for sure. And you're good with Georgia there at 5?
I've got them at 7. I did bump them down. Wasn't super impressed with them this past week. So I did have Texas Tech and Notre Dame elevate a spot each.
All right, well, let's run through the rest of the top 10 here for the CFP. That would be Ole Miss at 6, BYU at 7, Texas Tech at 8, Oregon at 9, and Notre Dame wrapping it up there at 10. Noah, how are you feeling about that?
I feel like it's, I don't have a problem necessarily with these teams 6 through 10 here. I would rearrange them a bit. I've got Texas Tech all the way up at 5. I've got Notre Dame at 6, Georgia at 7, BYU 8, Ole Miss 9, Oregon 10. So I do have the same, you look at 5 through 10, I've got the same 6 teams as the committee came up with. I've just got them ordered a little bit differently. We got more games to play. It'll sort itself out, I think. I think Ole Miss a little higher than I would like. That's probably the biggest issue I have with this. And I think Texas Tech is just a little low, but I've always, for the entire season, since week 0, been a bit higher on Texas Tech than it seems like the AP or the public has been.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Nothing's really changed there. I don't really have a ton of issues other than I would just kind of rearrange these teams a little bit.
I get it. And, we got to remember that the committee also is looking at, how the schedules are going to kind of go out into the future here and what the losses are going to look like. The Texas Tech BYU game this week is going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely huge. No, do you think
it's going to give them an excuse. I like how they put them both at 7-8, and it'll give them an excuse to drop one of them out of the top 12.
Yeah, and I think that was more strategic than anything. They think that those are the top 2, and let's go ahead and see who's going to stay in on this one. No, I mean, and like we've talked about, Noah, Notre Dame just got to run the table. Just run the table, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Let's move it on to the 15. Noah, Texas at 11, Oklahoma at 12, Utah at 13, Virginia at 14, Louisville at 15.
Yeah, I the inconsistency that we've had with Texas this season a little interesting, right? Early on, it
Yeah.
was like everyone's like, "Oh, after 2 losses, drop them the fuck out of the rankings," and now we're back to, "Oh yeah, they're a fringe playoff team."
Well, no, their last two games, I mean, winning at Mississippi State and then holding their own against Vanderbilt.
Right, and beating Oklahoma pretty good the week before that. Yeah, so I've got Texas back in my rankings. They're at 23 for me though. They're not. They've just earned their graces to come back into the top 25. I want to see it, like for me, for Texas to be in the playoff, I want to see them win out the rest of their schedule. And they got some tough games.
I agree.
They got some tough games. They got winnable games. They do that and they finish with 2 losses. By all means, a 2-loss Texas team should probably be in.
Yeah, and I mean, last 3 games on the schedule for them: at Georgia, home against Arkansas, home against A&M.
Yeah, and they'll win that Arkansas game, but I mean that could very well be 2 more losses, and then it's 4-loss Texas with losses to Georgia and A&M.
Yeah, and I don't even think the committee would be able to squeak in a 4-loss Texas. I think that would be.
Oh, they won't even try at that point.
Yeah,
but if Texas wins one of those 2 games and loses either to A&M or Georgia and beats the other one, I feel like they're going to try to make an argument. I would say at that point, a 3-loss Texas team is out for me, personally, unless some craziness shakes up with the teams above them. But a 3-loss Texas team that doesn't make the SEC championship game, for me, is not a playoff team.
No.
Now, I could totally see the committee squeaking them in with the 10, 11, 12 seed, if that's the case.
Try to, yeah.
Oklahoma, I feel like, is a bit high, too. This was the biggest shocker of the top 12 that came out to me was actually Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because the AP really started shitting on Oklahoma after
really did.
losses. Like they had a couple losses, didn't look great in those losses. Get a nice bounce back win last week, but Oklahoma's sitting there at 12. I got them at 17, so not like super far off. I never removed them from my rankings. I know some people wanted that, some people did do it. I think 12's a bit high. I think 11's high for Texas, but whatever. I do love to see the respect on Utah, though. Yeah, I do love to see the respect on Utah because, here's the funny thing with Utah. Outside of BYU and Texas Tech, they've blown everybody out.
Everyone.
And I think the big blowout win at home against Cincinnati did wonders there. I hate to see Cincinnati not in this top 25. I think they are fully deserving to have a number next to their name still. But Utah, I have all the way up at 11. I know they're a 2-loss Big 12 team, and people are probably losing. Oh, you got a 2-loss Big 12 team there? Yeah, BYU and Texas Tech are good enough that, you had a 3-point loss in Provo, and you did get blown out by Texas Tech at home.
But who hasn't?
That's tough, but Texas Tech has been just running their way outside of that ASU game. Don't know what happened. So, yeah, I love the respect on Utah.
No, I agree. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no. Go ahead with Utah.
My only thing on Utah, I mean, a team that I think is going to stick around. If they have big wins against Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas, and 2 of those games being on the road, I think this is a legit Utah team that we can talk about being in, one of those Big 12 teams in there, Noah, for the long run.
Yeah. Now, their big thing is they're going to really have to swallow their pride and cheer for their most hated rival this weekend, because if BYU gives Tech a second loss, that opens the door for Utah
Definitely.
to
That's a good loss then. Hey, that's a good loss then.
Yeah, well, that opens the door for Utah to go to the Big 12 championship, which, when it's all said and done, they may need an appearance in the Big 12 championship. Beats BYU. They're both at 1 loss. They both win the rest of their games. Then we're going to see a second iteration of BYU Texas Tech. And if that's the scenario, I'm kind of hoping for that. I'm cheering for that. It's good for the Big 12. Pretty much guarantees 2 Big 12 teams are going to, like, be in, right? Like if you got a 12-1 Texas Tech or a 12-1 BYU and a 11-2 whoever the other one is, I got to imagine we get two Big 12 teams into this. But
I do too.
Utah, if you're a Utah fan, you got to swallow your pride and you got to be cheering for BYU, who you absolutely loathe and hate, to beat Texas Tech in this game. That'll be really interesting. But we'll see how the Big 12 shakes out here. But I think these are pretty much your three teams. I know there are other 2-loss teams hiding in the weeds that, if some craziness happens, which it always seems to do in the Big 12, we'll see what happens.
No, I agree. What are your thoughts on Virginia and Louisville there, 14-15?
Well, funny you should ask. I got two very wildly different opinions on these two teams. In my rankings, I got Louisville at 12. I got them at 12. They're my highest ranked ACC team. They got one loss at NC State, who just knocked off Georgia Tech this past week. Not the best team, but not a horrible team. Louisville's got some good wins on their resume. Virginia does not. Virginia's been to overtime 3 fucking times in the ACC and through their ACC schedule. So yes, they're 8-1. Yes, they're undefeated. I believe they're undefeated in conference play.
Yes, undefeated in conference play.
Yeah, they'll probably end up in the ACC championship game. But guess what? I've got Virginia fucking unranked because the same reason that I didn't until like 2 weeks ago even have Georgia Tech in my rankings. Their schedule's so goddamn unimpressive that whatever, they're sitting here at 14, which would be the 11 seed in the playoff. Virginia did beat Louisville. That's right, Road Dogg. In overtime, I believe.
Yes.
You know what? I'm still more impressed with Louisville. I'm ultimately not impressed with either of these teams. If there was an option to not have an ACC team in the playoff, I would vote for that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sitting here, and I guess there is an option. There is a route. The committee will never get to the conclusion that Memphis or USF and then also James Madison should both be in over an ACC team. But, if enough chaos happens down the stretch here in the season with the ACC, and again, it won't happen. I'm just being optimistic and wishful, but I would almost rather see the 11-12 seed be the American Conference champion, and then a 11-1, 12-1 JMU who wins the Sun Belt. Like, to me, that's a better fit. I think it's all going to be crumbling apart here for the ACC. They're just so bad. They're so bad. I don't even have Virginia ranked, and I've got Louisville at 12, but that's probably way too high anyways. Neither of these teams excite me. I don't have any hopes for either of these teams. Honestly, Miami is the one team that I think might actually have a shot as an underdog in a first-round playoff game. But I truly think whoever makes it in the ACC is just going to get fucking blown out in the first round. And there looks like right now the ACC is not even going to have a home game for the first round of the playoff.
Yeah, I would put money on that. I would put money on that.
They're going to be on the road. They're going to be on the road at an SEC, like the third or fourth best SEC school, or they're going to be on the road at BYU or at Texas Tech, or potentially at Oregon or at Notre Dame. Like, that's what's going to happen to whoever wins the ACC. And however you draw it up, I don't think they're keeping that game within 14 points, No,
probably not. Probably opening up as double-digit dogs if we're going to be completely honest. But, hey, that's life in the ACC. Noah, let's go ahead and move it on. 16 through 20, got Vandy at 16, Georgia Tech at 17, Miami at 18, USC at 19, Iowa at 20.
Yeah, 2-loss Vandy, still getting respect. And
you gotta love it.
That's pretty cool. I've got Vandy at 13 personally. I'm like, all right. You look at their 2 losses. It's at Bama, and then take a tough one. Shit, who did they fucking play this last week? Texas.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, so I'm not going to fault Vandy too much. They're still very much in this. The rest of their schedule, very winnable, very winnable. And that's the important thing here is Vandy's got a very good chance at winning their last 3 games. And then it's 10-2 Vandy, and they probably don't go to the SEC championship game, which actually might be in their benefit.
Yeah.
Because if they don't play in that championship game, so long as Tennessee doesn't keep shit in the bed and like fall even farther out of the rankings, I mean, I know they're sitting at 25 here, which is laughable to me. Like, Vandy's got a respectable enough schedule. Honestly, it feels like it's panning out to the point where Vandy might be that 11-12 overall seed with the committee, and then they're going to get bumped out by an ACC and a group of 5 team. Like, that's kind of the trajectory it feels like we're headed with this. Now, there is enough public hype on it that Vandy may be able to squeak in there if some things happen in their favor. So it's not guaranteed. I would say if they win out the rest of their schedule, I'd put Vandy's chances at about 50-50, whether or not they're in that playoff bracket or not. Okay. Either way, a respectable season for them. Georgia Tech, get the fuck out of here. Drop them out of my rankings. I hated that I had to put them in my rankings because they were undefeated. I was so glad when they lost to NC State. I was like, yeah, get the fuck out. You didn't deserve to be here. You didn't belong here to begin with. Miami, I've got at 22, barely holding on to a number just because they do have impressive wins over A&M and Notre Dame. That's the only thing keeping Miami in my rankings. But they're probably not even going to make it to the ACC championship game at this point. There's like 4 or 5 one-loss teams. And Miami's path to the ACC championship game now is starting to feel kind of crucial that they're in that game. And if they don't even make it to that game, I don't know if their wins are enough to offset their losses. I just don't know.
No, I don't think it is. No, and I don't think their play has been able to really do that. I mean, losing to SMU and Louisville's a good loss. I guess you could argue that, but SMU hasn't done anything special. And I mean, close one with Notre Dame, blowing out Florida's great, but I don't know, man. Miami's just not doing it for me. And I think especially, NC State's been a dragon killer, and so that's going to be scary. And then Virginia Tech pick. Like, Miami just feels like a team that can get got here in the last couple of weeks.
Well, their only hope is to win the rest of their games. They lose one more, they're fucking done. And they might be done if they don't lose one more. That's the thing. Like, they could be in the same boat as Vandy. However, I give Vandy 50-50 if they win out. Miami wins out and doesn't make the ACC championship game. I give them maybe a 25-30% chance. It's gonna depend on how much weight the committee puts on that win over A&M, or not A&M, sorry, the win over Notre Dame, and then, USF. Who else am I fucking thinking of? Who did they beat?
Florida State, Stanford. That was a good win.
I'm sorry.
Don't forget Bethune.
I'm roping Notre Dame's 2 losses into Miami's
into the Hurricanes' 2 losses.
Yeah, no, that's my bad. That's my bad. I got my wires crossed a little bit there. Either way, yeah, Miami, I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't know if that resume is going to be enough, even if they win out. I think they might need to win the ACC, which is going to involve needing some help from other teams. And there are way too many one-loss teams sitting around in the ACC. It's not going to be good for anybody. SC sitting at, what was that, 19?
Yeah, SC at 19.
I got them at 18. They're not making the playoffs.
No,
I'm just going to come out and say it. I think they're appropriately ranked. However, here's the problem with USC. I don't think they got enough left on their schedule to play themselves in. Like, I think they're stuck in this position where they're going to have a decent season and they're going to be ranked and they're going to get to a nice bowl game. They're going to go play in a nice bowl game. But I don't think USC has enough left on their schedule unless something absolutely fucking bonkers and chaotic happens in the Big Ten, which it won't, because Ohio State and
Well,
Indiana are both going to finish undefeated, most likely. And USC, they might work their way up to 13 or 14 in the rankings
yeah.
by the time we're said and done, but it's not going to be enough to put themselves in a playoff position. I
No,
just
they'll be a
really
first
don't see
out
it
type of
happening.
team. Yeah.
Because who do
I'm
they
with you.
have left on their schedule?
Who? SC?
Yeah.
Left on their schedule, you've got home against Northwestern, home against number 20 Iowa, at number 9 Oregon, and
I
then home
take,
against UCLA. So
I
they've got
take
a
that back.
little bit.
I take that back. They went out with wins over Iowa and at Oregon.
There's an argument.
There's an argument to be made. There is an argument to be made. So I rescind that. I didn't even look at their schedule before that, but having Iowa and Oregon both on there, if
Yeah.
USC wins out, I think they'll have an argument.
I agree. Anything on Iowa?
Oh, who hates Iowa? We hate Iowa.
Yeah,
I
Iowa.
hate Iowa, man. I got them at 15 in my rankings. I think they are grossly underrated. You look at the losses that Iowa has, it's a 3-point loss at Iowa State to a fully healthy Iowa State team who, by the way, without all the fucking injuries that Iowa State has had, I think they're a top 15 team. They're just beat down, especially on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary. But Iowa played them before they were injured, and it was a 3-point loss in Ames. And then they lost by 5 at home to Indiana.
Yeah.
And then you look at their wins, and they've got some impressive wins, maybe not necessarily against impressive teams, but Iowa's been playing really good football. They seem to be getting better as the season goes along. I've got them beating Oregon this week. And if that happens, I don't know how much I don't know how much the committee's going to bump them up from 20. I don't know if that quite gets them into the top 12, but it should get them close at the very least. I think they're a playoff caliber team if they can take care of business at home against Oregon.
I could see it. Noah, let's go ahead, finish it out with the last 5. Michigan at 21, Mizzou at 22, Washington 23, Pitt 24, Tennessee. They got to keep Tennessee in there. I don't know, they must have, Tennessee must have some dirt on the AP and the College Football Playoff Committee, because it's laughable that Tennessee is here in the top 25. But Noah, real quick, I do want to throw a scenario at you before you go full deep dive here. Let's just say, for shits and giggles, it's a 9-2 Michigan team in the Big House against undefeated Ohio State. And Michigan does what they've been doing the last couple of years, and they win against Ohio State. Do you think that there's enough there off that win to really have an argument for them to make it in?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think anyone's going to take that argument seriously in the CFP?
Well, I think they're going to be playing in the Big Ten championship game if that's the case.
True.
Because, they have 2 losses. One was to Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
One was to Oklahoma. So if them and Ohio State are both 1-loss Big Ten teams, Michigan's going to have the head-to-head. They're going to have the tiebreaker. Oregon would be the only other team at that point who has potentially Iowa too. It'd be interesting to see how the tiebreakers shake out, because if that does happen, then you're potentially talking about 1 loss. Well, Oregon or Iowa, one of them's taking a second loss this week. That's guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
USC laying in the weeds, that could be really interesting too. But if Iowa beats Oregon, and then SC beats Iowa, and then Oregon beats SC, then they're all fucking sitting at 2 losses, and then it doesn't matter. And then the door could be open for Michigan. Don't forget about Washington too. They're at 23. They are laying in the weeds. But yeah, Michigan wants to make the playoffs. They gotta win out. And I do think it is enough if they go 10-2 with a win over Ohio State to end the season, and just losses to USC and Oklahoma. I do think it's enough for Michigan to get a bid. I think they'll be playing on the road.
Yeah.
for week one of the playoffs, but I do think it's enough to get them in. They just have to win the rest of their games.
Fair enough. Just wanted to throw that one out there. Any other thoughts on the last five in?
Yeah, I mean, Mizzou, whatever. I got them at 21. They're sitting at 22. I don't think they're making it into the playoff. Their resume's not overly impressive. Don't know off the top of my head who they got on the rest of their schedule. They're a good football team. That's all I got there. Washington, a little bit more interesting because they do have a chance to do something if they just continue winning. Pitt, all I'm going to say about them, they're a one-loss ACC team. They got a chance to go to the ACC championship game and get a bid that way. And I say get a bid that way because they're not getting a bid another way.
Just for reference, real quick, the rest of their schedule is home against Notre Dame, at Georgia Tech, home against Miami.
Yeah, so got an invite to the party for 1 week, Pitt. They're dangerous, though. They're dangerous. They can win games, but again, unless they win the ACC championship game, they're not doing anything. I mean, they lost to fucking West Virginia. Like that should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, that really should. That really should.
And I don't need to beat the drum anymore with Tennessee. I've been doing it all season. I haven't felt like this is a ranked team for pretty much the entirety of the season. I still don't feel like they're a fucking ranked team after losing another one. They got 3 losses. There's no redemption here for Tennessee.
No.
I think it's embarrassing to even have them at 25 because even if they win out, I still feel like they're not a playoff team.
I agree with you completely. Tennessee, yeah. Congrats to making, I don't know what you're doing there. So just for fun, Noah, let's go ahead and take a look at.
They can go play in Duke Mayo Bowl or some shit like that. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind seeing Tennessee in the Pop-Tart Bowl. I don't think they can be in the Pop-Tart Bowl, but I wouldn't hate that. Still in the top 25 hater. McCormick, but it's kind of like a pity top 25. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, we have to put someone in the top 25. Let's go ahead and give it to Tennessee. Let's make them feel included. It's nothing to be proud of. It's like a participation trophy, if anything. But anyway, Noah, just for fun, here's what the playoffs bracket would look like if it was to start tomorrow. So Memphis would go ahead and get the group of 5 bid. Virginia sneaking in there at 11. Texas, OU would be out of this one.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting hypothetical bracket, I think, because I honestly feel like Memphis could put up a fight against Georgia. Do I think they win that game? No. I've got USF still ranked higher than Memphis, even though Memphis did win that one head-to-head. 3-point game, whatever, it's close. I'd still give the nod to USF personally, but we do know the committee does tend to take head-to-head results into account pretty heavily.
Yeah.
As well as performance against like common opponents. Those are 2 factors that the committee tends to weigh pretty significantly. I'm not sold on Oregon. I honestly feel like Texas Tech would blow them the fuck out, and then Texas Tech would not be a gimme game for Ohio State there in the shoe. So, it's an interesting hypothetical bracket right now. Obviously, given Virginia, their number 14 overall seed, they get the bid there at 11. But I don't know. And you know what? I'm going to address that real quick in the comments.
Go ahead, Noah. You can take this one.
Never tried to claim that our teams are good.
We've never done that.
Or I've never once at any point this season had any sort of playoff aspirations for Arizona or Minnesota. I'm actually over the moon that Arizona is going to be bowl eligible and might win 8 games this year. That's incredible to me. That's incredible to me. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, and Minnesota, whatever they are, what they are, it's an 8 or 9 win program every year.
But again, we never claim to be good. We never claim to be good in football. Basketball. You see what we did last night to Florida, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm thinking natty already. I'm not gonna lie, but that's our basketball team. I've never thought about a natty with our football team. No, that's insane.
Well, hey, you know what we always say? Football season starts going haywire, and you know what? We're a basketball school.
We're
Don't
a
matter.
basketball school, baby. We are a basketball school. Always have been. Always will be. Anything else on college football?
Yeah, my last little note on that. Just disappointed to not see not see representation from the group of five in this top 25. Not saying any group of five team deserved to be in the top 12 or even maybe the top 15, but there's a couple teams I would have liked to at least seen a nod to in that maybe 17 through 25 range. You know, you got no USF there. They've got some impressive wins on the schedule. You got no Memphis there, who you're saying is the best group of five team, but still not a top 25 team. North Texas has, outside of getting blown out by USF, has pretty much blown out everybody they've played. And then James Madison playing really well as well. And then, you know, you got San Diego State kind of hiding in the weeds. Navy's a one-loss team. Like, they're just first rankings here. Absolutely no love being shown to the group of five. And I do think it's a little disrespectful because outside of the top 14, 15, maybe even, you know, outside of the top 12 or 13, like, I think there's a handful of group of five teams that could hang with a lot of these teams that are in the rankings with a number next to their name.
I agree. Agree. Well, Noah, let's go ahead and transition over because another big day in the world of the NFL, Noah, that being because it was the trade deadline, Noah, and usually something that, you know, we get excited for and nothing really ever happens with it because it's NFL teams and I don't know, the trade deadline's just never really that big of a thing typically. Maybe you get one blockbuster or two, but
especially as a Packers fan
or a Cardinals fan for that matter, but
I love how the Packers fan base, we just we get ourselves all hyped up about something on the trade deadline. Like, oh, okay, Packers have been inquiring about like cornerbacks from whatever. And I was like, ain't nothing gonna happen. I was like, if something happens, we're gonna trade like a 6th or 7th round pick for a backup corner on some team. Like that's I was expecting that to happen, and there was zero movement. And I'm also not surprised by that because the Packers just don't do shit at the trade deadline.
They really don't, Noah. But let's go ahead, break down some of these bigger ones, and let's start with the man himself, the man who called his shot, Mr. Jerry Jones. As Monday Night Football rolls around, all anyone could talk about was Jerry Jones' comment of, "Hey, I got something working. We got a big trade brewing, Noah. Huge trade, blockbuster." Jerry Jones described it as. And there was a trade that the Cowboys made for Bengals, well, former Bengal linebacker Logan Wilson will be going to the Cowboys. Wilson did request a trade amid decreases in snaps. So go ahead and move him for a little bit. Jerry Jones getting involved early here, Noah. I had.
That's what you're going to talk about with the Cowboys?
Yeah, Jerry Jones. That was the one he was really excited about. That was the first one to drop. Which one did you want to talk about, Noah, first?
Oh, you know, maybe the actual news headline grabbing one.
You're talking about Quinton Williams, being traded from the Jets to the Cowboys for, I believe, a first and a second. But it wasn't it depends on which one it's going to be, whether it's the Packers first for next year or the Cowboys first after the Micah Parsons trade. But
I think I can take a wild guess at which one that's going to be.
I think I can too, Noah. There was reports out there being like, it will not be the Packers pick. And everyone's like, well, it could be the Packers or the Cowboys pick. And everyone's like, no, it's not going to be the Packers pick. But anyway, it's you had Micah Parsons. And I mean, I know two different positions and everything. And they're trying to do something they're different with the defensive line and everything, Noah.
They're trying to stop the run.
They're really trying to. And I mean, Cardinals, and the Cardinals didn't really run all over them though. Anyway, I mean, shout out to the Cowboys for making two moves today and not being stagnant in a lot of positions. Jerry actually kind of followed through when he said that he was going to make some moves, Noah.
Yeah, I don't know that the Cowboys come on top on this one. honestly, for me, and I'm going to talk about it because it's one of the two teams that was involved here. I think the winner of the trade deadline was the New York Jets.
I would agree.
I think crazy. So they get a second round pick. They get Mozzie Smith. So it's a first, a second Mozzie Smith for Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams, great fucking player. He will help this Cowboys defense,
Yeah.
who is the worst defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. It's a terrible fucking defense, and so they need any help they can get. They add some pieces. Quinnen Williams, I think, will help a little bit. I don't know that it's going to make a monumental difference. Mozzie Smith showed some promise, but hasn't been ultimately performing super well. But yeah, first and a second. That's a big haul here. I don't know that this is the best move for the Cowboys. You get 2 first-round picks in return for losing Micah Parsons, and you basically give the equivalent. I'm going to say Mozzie Smith and a second-round pick is the equivalent, almost the equivalent of a first-round pick. So you basically turn around and dish back the same amount to the Jets, and so you've effectively replaced Micah Parsons with Quinnen Williams.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was definitely the goal here.
So I don't know if you can feel like that's a win if you're the Cowboys or a Cowboy. I mean, Jerry Jones is going to spin it like this is a big win, but it's, I don't know. Basically made a downgrade and didn't really come out on top.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really want to look at it, like, the Cowboys with Micah Parsons were here. They traded Micah Parsons, and they're here. And they get Quinnen Williams, and now they're here. You know what I mean? Almost net neutral, but just not where it needs to be. But no, I couldn't agree more that the Jets absolutely not only won the trade deadline, but I think have made a very clear statement with the trade deadline that we are going into full rebuild mode with this team.
They're going to have a beautiful fucking opportunity the next 2 years because.
Well, let's talk about it. As we also have Sauce Gardner going from the New York Jets to the Indianapolis Colts, going to sleep 1-7, waking up 7-2. Not a bad way to start a Tuesday, in my opinion, Noah. Jets go ahead and receive a 2026 first-round pick, 2027 first-round pick, and wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. Mitchell, a solid young wide receiver. I mean, if they're looking to go young and build up a core, let's go ahead and start there. And then again, 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. Hey, the Colts,
who by the way just signed a 4-year $104 or a 3-year $104 million. Whatever.
It was something like it was a great extension for Sauce, and it really seemed like he was going to be staying in New York for the long haul. But they must have, started getting going today and like, all right, let's just go ahead and sell this off and let's rebuild, baby. Let's rebuild. Reports already coming out that a lot of these first-round picks aren't going to be going into the draft next year and going to be trade bait for or trade negotiation tools for a quarterback instead of going to the draft for one. Kyler Murray, get ready to learn New York, buddy.
That's cute that you think Kyler Murray is worth a first-round pick.
I know. A guy can dream, though. No,
with his contract too. I mean, if I'm a GM and I'm sitting there with the Jets, I may give up like a 3rd-round pick for Kyler Murray, maybe a 3rd.
3rd and Breece Hall.
No, a 3rd.
Yeah. 3rd and a Breece Hall.
No, a 3rd, maybe you could maybe convince me to give you a 3rd and a special teams player. Like it's that bad, and we're not going to talk about the Cardinals because they didn't do shit. Packers didn't make any moves, but I do want to talk about the Jets. And holy shit, Colts. Feels like I'll talk about the Colts quick. Feels like they're selling out to try to win a Super Bowl this year.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
This is not a very team-friendly contract to be taking up with Sauce Gardner, who has actually gotten worse all 3 years that he's been in the league. His best year was his rookie year, and then he had a pretty good second year, and then he's been okay to decent this year. Now, a lot of that could be the Jets just not having a good defense. I mean, you got a defensive-minded coach, you would think it would be fine, but whatever. I think the Jets absolutely come on out on top. I would almost call
Yeah.
this highway robbery. And Sauce is a really, really good player. But now the Colts take over a contract that's in a non-quarterback contract conversation that's the same as with trade value included in it. You're basically giving up for Sauce what the Packers gave up for Micah Parsons, what the Khalil Mack trade was. There's a couple other big ones there for non-quarterbacks, but it's like this is what you give up for a player who is a generational, maybe in their prime or close to their prime, top of their position. And if Sauce doesn't live up to those lofty expectations, this is a loss for the Colts.
But he has been living up to those expectations, and he's been on the Colts. He's been the one.
Has he been the best cornerback in the league?
Top 5.
Borderline, maybe.
Top 5 though.
Yeah,
you're number 5. You're still top 5. I mean, don't get me wrong. No, I think it's a little bit of aggressive haul for Sauce, but at the end of the day, the Colts obviously really feel like they needed help on secondary. I happen to agree with that sentiment, and I think Sauce really helps out the struggling cornerbacks right now. I think it's a good move, and I think it's a good move that's going to benefit them for years to come. They're obviously fully in on Jaden Daniels, right? Holy crap, on Daniel Jones right now. He looking to probably get a deal after this as well. Probably gonna have to take a team friendlier deal, maybe incentive based. Again, given the Sauce contract, but the salary cap's gonna keep going up and up and up, and it's been doing that for years, and it's gonna keep doing that. So that'll continue to provide a little bit of help. And the Colts have been fairly good with money recently, so I get it. It's an aggressive haul, but they're not overreaching by any means. I don't think.
No, and they're fine from that standpoint. What I'm saying is, if like what you're giving up for Sauce, if you're the Colts, you need him to be top 3 or at very worst top 5 at his position for the next 4 years. And I'm not saying that's impossible out of the question. But if he gets injured, or if he's performing like the 20th, 30th best cornerback in the league, who still very much deserves a starting job, it's not just the salary it's not the $30 million that you're paying him a year. It's the $30 million plus the 2 first-round picks plus a receiver that you just drafted in the 2nd round last year that you're giving up for it. And that's that side of it. The other side of it, the Jets made 2 big trades today, traded away 2 really good players. I was fully expecting Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson.
I really thought that was going to be the last one to drop, one of the 2.
But now you got the Jets sitting here who could very well have the number 1 overall pick in the draft next year. And they just added 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick today in the next 2 drafts. I think the Jets are, if they make the right picks or just make okay picks, they're going to be sitting pretty well. And those Cowboys picks are going to be not too bad. And the Colts pick this year might not be wonderful, but if the Colts are a first-round playoff exit, that pick's suddenly not as horrible. It's in the low 20s.
No, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, great draft haul. If they do decide to rebuild through the draft, they obviously have that opportunity to do it in the first 2 rounds over the next couple seasons. But my thing...
They're going to have 3 first-round picks, and they can easily package those 2...
Yeah, I get it.
Easily package those 2 mid to late picks for another potentially like top 5, 6 picks. So the Jets could be picking twice in the top 5 or 6 this draft if there's guys that they want there.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust the Jets to see here. And here's kind of where I'm coming from. And, the reports coming out that they might be looking to trade away some of those first round picks for a quarterback in the offseason. I think that's more than likely the route they're going to go, and then try to rebuild everything else through the draft. I don't know if the Colts, I don't know if the Jets are, I don't know if ownership, fuck me, I need to go take some cold medicine. I don't know if the ownership trusts GM to rebuild that team through the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a mandate by them. Go out, get us some couple of solid players, and let's figure this out from there. Rebuild everything else that we can through the draft. But I wouldn't be surprised if the offseason is also very busy on the trade block for the New York Football Jets.
Yeah, I think the Jets are finally in a really favorable position
Hopefully. Yeah.
to actually rebuild. It's the Jets. They could fuck it up yet again, but if they don't fuck it up this time, they're setting themselves up in a really, really, really good position to rebuild and be a actually competitive playoff caliber team within 3 to 4 years.
Oh,
Now,
for sure.
will they do that? No, I don't have a lot of faith in the Jets front office. I'm not going to lie there. But if they get it right this time, they have set themselves up to be a competitive team within 3 years.
I agree. I agree, Noah. I agree. Last two trades I really want to talk about here tonight. Starting with Seattle, as this does affect the NFC West. Seahawks traded for Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. Saints receiving 2026 fourth round pick and a 2026 fifth round pick as well. Rashid joining a very strong receiving core already for the Seattle Seahawks, giving Sam Darnold some more weapons. They're obviously all in on Darnold this season with the way they've been playing, and I can't blame them at all. Getting him another third option, and that's Rashid Shaheed right there. That is a pretty solid trio right there of JSN, Cooper Kupp, Rashid Shaheed, and then what was his name on Sunday
Horton.
night getting all the love? Yeah, Thornton. Thank you, Thornton, getting the love and showing that he's there. What?
Horton, like the elephant.
Horton, my bad, Horton. Yeah, and I mean him showing out on Sunday and saying, yeah, hey guys, I'm a good option too. So now you got four solid wide receivers there with the Seahawks. As long as Sam Darnold continues to not see ghosts, I mean, this Seahawks team is going to continue to have one of the more high-powered offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, and their defense has been playing really well this
Yeah,
season. Obviously, they're off to a great start. They needed to do something like this though because uh, defenses have just been stacking the fuck out of the box against Seattle.
they're selling out for Charbonnet and
Re- Kenneth Walker.
thank you. Fuck.
But regardless of what set Seattle comes out in, teams are still stacking the box and they're not shying away from like leaving their secondary thin. And it's worked pretty well for Seattle. They don't really have a balanced offense because they haven't been able to establish the run game with two good running backs because teams routinely stack 7 or 8 in the box. And that's why Darnold's putting up good numbers passing, but I don't think it's enough to get him over the hump. Now, Rashid Shaheed, I think this was a really, really smart trade by Seattle.
Yeah.
JSN's really, really good. But do you want to leave your second or third best cornerback in man-on-man coverage with no safety help against Rashid Shaheed, who runs he's run a lot less this year, but in previous years, he's been a weird one in fantasy because he either does nothing or he puts up 20 plus because he runs 45% of his routes are go routes. But do you want to leave your second or third best corner in man-on-man with no safety help against Rashid Shaheed? No, you don't. And Rashid Shaheed is not the best receiver in the league by any means. However, I think it's a really good move from Seattle to identify this, bring in a guy who's going to make the defenses play a little more honest against them. They're going to have to bring in some extra safety help in a lot of sets because of Rashid Shaheed. Will he be producing a ton? I don't know, but now you got a number of deep threats in there, and I really think it's going to open it up for the tight ends on Seattle.
It should.
Those mid-range routes, 10 to 15 yards, I think those are going to be open all day for Sam Darnold to just sit and throw easy passes 10 to 15 yards down the field whenever they need it, because there's going to be all this stress about Horton can open it up deep. Rashid Shaheed definitely can open it up deep. JSN can even open it up deep. Cooper Kupp, not so much. He's just a guy who's there in the wide receiver room. I mean, he's doing okay, but whatever. I think Cooper Kupp, another one. Yeah, the tight ends, Cooper Kupp, it might open up those mid-range routes a ton for the tight ends, for Cooper Kupp, for whoever else is running those. And so might help open their run game as well, facing one or two less guys half the time in that box. And we'll see what see what happens there with Seattle, but I think it was a very beneficial move for them, even though it wasn't the splashiest trade. I
No, but
think this was a very good example of identify a need and fill it.
yeah, and that was kind of my reaction. Not the biggest name, not the biggest trade, not the biggest haul, but you look at that and then you start looking at the Seattle offense. And you're like, oh, okay, you fuckers are going to be dangerous. I see, I see.
You can you can see how it's going to work in
Yeah,
their offense.
no, definitely, and I'm excited to see how it works out in the first week. Last kind of one I wanted to talk about, Noah. Jacoby Myers being traded from the Raiders to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a couple of draft picks. Jacoby Myers joining Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington there. I don't blame it. I don't blame them going out there and getting another weapon. Brian Thomas Jr. kind of been hot and cold. De'Ami Brown's been solid, but injuries all around. I mean, it doesn't do a lot for me. I think it was more the Raiders needing draft picks and knowing this season ain't going anywhere, and Jacoby Myers just maybe a piece that, we don't really need right now, can't really afford in the long term. So let's go ahead and get some value.
He's also on the last year of his contract.
That's right. Thank you for reminding
me.
Yeah, get some value.
Honestly, I grade this trade really high for the Raiders. They're not doing anything this season, and you got your best receiver who's decent, and they get what, a fourth and a fifth or a fourth and a sixth?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, he's on the last year of his contract. Jacksonville, I think, is just desperately trying to keep their playoff hopes alive at this point. It's kind of almost embarrassing. They got off to this really hot start this season at 4-1, and now I think they're just trying to desperately keep their playoff hopes alive. And if they do make the playoffs, they're going to be a first round exit anyways. I don't like it's just not there. And you got Travis Hunter now, and you finally starts seeming like he's growing into his role as a receiver at the very least. And then he's out for a minimum of 4 weeks. Brian Thomas Jr. dealing with injuries. De'Ami Brown dealing with injuries. It just feels like you're just adding another body to throw the ball to, and I really don't think it's going to make any noticeable difference for Jacksonville. So I probably grade this as a D- or an F for Jacksonville, just because I really don't think it does anything. Raiders, I'll give them a B+ on this one, because it's you got some. You're not making the playoffs this year. You get a little bit of return for a guy who's probably going to be a free agent in the offseason anyways, because you're not going to franchise tag Jacoby Myers. And so Raiders at least get a couple picks back for it. Good on them. Jacksonville, I think they're just literally trying to hold on to the last little remains of playoff hopes or hopes of a good season that they have.
For sure. Trevor Lawrence getting another weapon there. Not too shabby for him. Nice to see him get some help there. But
and that weapon is a foam sword.
Hey, better than going in with, I don't know what's worse than a foam sword.
A wet noodle.
Anyway. A lot of other trades happened, Noah. Those were kind of the big ones that stuck out to me. You got anything else on the trade deadline before we wrap up tonight?
No, I mean, there's a number of minor moves that we don't need to talk about. Chargers getting an offensive lineman, but from the Saints, but not a very good one for a 6th-round pick. So
replacing Joe Alt.
Desperate need for that Chargers O-line, and they go, oh, well, we'll add somebody, but we're going to get the Saints' 3rd best offensive lineman for a 6th-round pick. Interesting move, but yeah, NFL trade deadline always weird. Had pretty much the 2 splashy moves were both Jets involved in both of those, and then outside of that, really not a ton happening. And I feel like it doesn't. There's usually a couple big ones at the trade deadline with the NFL, but nothing compared to what we see with the NBA trade deadline or the MLB trade deadline. There's so much movement with the MLB, and then the NBA, you have multiple big splashy star players being dealt. In the NFL, it usually doesn't happen, and so I don't know, pretty typical, I guess, for the NFL here.
Yep, pretty typical. Shout out to the Jets for making some moves and giving their fans some hope for the next couple of years. As a fan who has had hope in off seasons, let me tell you, usually doesn't work out too well. But hey, with all that being said, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Shout out to McCormick, Road Dog, and Bogey Dog in the chat. And if you like what we're cooking, please hit that like button, hit the follow button. It does help us out a lot more than you know. With all that being said, I'm the Brofect one, AJ. That is the Money Train Noah, and we'll see you next time on Degenerate Takes.